Greetings. This is Coach Jaki with Uzazi Podcast. Today I'm talking about failure and how we can help our children to accept that failure is part of life. I read a blog about a parent who has had to overcome several failures and how he has managed to maintain cohesiveness in his family. His children are immensely proud of him, and they recount stories of all the times they have had to downgrade their living standards in order to manage with fewer resources, with humor rather than sadness. That blog got me thinking about what our children learn from us regarding failure. In a previous podcast, I spoke about how we often go out of our way to protect our children to the extent that they could grow up never having had to deal with failure. Our generous offers to help can, in fact, be dangerous lessons for our children because they learn that it is someone else's responsibility to deal with their failure or to stop them failing. When no such person is forthcoming, they are lost and bewildered and will even take extreme measures, including ending their own lives. So how can we teach our children to handle failure? As with everything else, modeling is key in helping children learn. To understand what you're modeling to your children regarding failure, begin with some reflection. What is the last thing you failed at, and how did you handle that failure? What failures did you experience when you were the age of your child today? How did you move on from those failures? What can you share with your child about what you learned from those failures? Have you shared with your child what you learned from those failures? Don't share only stories where you emerged triumphant or successful or unscathed. Share also the stories where you messed, lost, got hurt. Make it even more meaningful by sharing what you learned from that experience. Such stories help your children to connect with you on a very human level and to appreciate that people do get out of failure and to understand that failure teaches something useful. One key strategy to help us handle failure is to separate it from ourselves. Rather than telling ourselves that we are failures when something goes wrong, we should say that we failed at that thing. And this applies to what we tell our children. If a child brings home poor grades, we can focus on the grades and talk about what could be done to improve, rather than calling them names and telling them how stupid they are and how they will go nowhere in life. And this is not just a story that I am telling. Parents do call their children all sorts of names when they bring home poor grades. When your child experiences failure, help them to look at it as an opportunity to learn. Ask them, what have they learned? What might they do differently in a similar situation? And how might they prepare differently for such an opportunity? I mentioned previously that childhood is apprenticeship for adulthood. Children must grow physically, intellectually, and emotionally into adulthood. This, by definition, means that stretching is part of growing up, and activities that stretch their abilities without being completely out of reach are great for showing them what they are capable of if they make that extra effort. So encourage your child to try new things, to stretch themselves, knowing very well that they may fail at those things. There are many stories of people who tried and failed many times before they succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. Such stories are powerful for encouraging your child, but still, the most powerful hero or heroine is yourself and your example of triumph over failure. But when should you tell such stories? When your child is experiencing failure, it is a natural time to talk about it and to share your own stories or experiences of failure and what you learned from them. You could also share stories about your experiences with failure when you are experiencing challenges that could end up in failure, especially if your child has noticed that something is going on with you, and more so if they have expressed concern. Resist the urge to brush them off with, "Don't worry, it's not your problem." If your child has noticed that something is going on that's making you sad or distracted or otherwise not yourself, then they are involved. And children do notice. Even a toddler can tell when you're not yourself. Even if they're not able to say so, they may touch you gently, the way you do when they are not well, to express their solidarity with you. So even if you're not able to share details of whatever is going on, let your child know that yes, there is an issue, and let them know that you're working on it. It's a good time to share with them that you have faced challenges before and you know that one can always come out on the other side. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? Let them know that you know you will learn something from it. This provides modeling to your child on being positive in the face of a challenge or failure. It demonstrates that people aren't always on their A game and that that's okay. And don't forget to acknowledge their concern either. Not only does this show them that you appreciate it, it also demonstrates to them that it's okay to accept the concern of others when things are not going well, and so takes away the pressure from them to be always okay, to always appear happy, to always appear cheerful. Any discussions about handling failure would be incomplete without a conversation about how to avoid failure when you can. In many situations, proper preparations do help reduce the chances of failure, and it is a good thing to include this caveat when you're speaking about failure to your child. It is entirely possible that this is one of the lessons that one will learn from their own failure, but it doesn't hurt to bring it up as a precautionary measure. And to finish, I will share with you a story that I recall reading not so long ago in local media. It was the story of a girl who scored 200 and something marks out of 500 in KCPE, the exams that they take at the end of primary school, and is now a professor, or perhaps on the way to becoming a professor of mathematics. This is a great story to demonstrate that failure at one thing does not decide one's future, so long as somebody applies themselves to the lessons that they could learn from that failure. If you want to know more about how I work with parents and other people to achieve their goals in life, contact me, Jaki, at lifeskillscoaching.co.ke.